My judgment, based on my experience, is that those that are over our military sites are adversarial and most likely are coming from the People's Republic of China. Communist China is very good at this stuff. And we know they bought land around military bases. This would be very consistent with their policy over the last couple of years.
Over the past few weeks, we now have mysterious drone sightings, not at one military base, not at two military bases, not even at 3 military bases. We have mysterious drone sightings at 17 military bases right here in the U.S. over the past few weeks alone. I'm not talking about throughout the whole entire year. I'm not talking about over the past 6 or 7 months. No. Within the last 3 or 4 weeks, within the past month or so, we have 17 different military bases from New Jersey and New York all the way to Hawaii that are reporting mysterious drone sightings, mysterious drones flying over their military bases. Now, isn't that crazy? Don't you think that's a lot? 17 military bases? I mean, it was enough when we heard that it was just 1. Then we heard it was 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5. 17. And do you think it's going to stop there? And this is just that we know of. And you know what? I don't even think that the recent sightings, that have happened, they might not even be included in this list. 17 bases. And you want to know what all of these bases, or most of these bases, have in common? You see China. China has been buying up hundreds, thousands of acres of land right here in America. And they typically buy land near military bases. Now, most of these military bases that are experiencing these weird problems, the one thing they have in common is that China owns land nearby. The Chinese government owns land nearby a lot of our military bases, and we're wondering where these drones are coming from. At first, it seemed like, hey, they're flying in off the ocean. They must be coming from some sort of ship that is off the coast of like New Jersey and New York, the Northeast. But now, we know they're flying in California. We got reports of Hawaii. We got Utah, Virginia. They're going further inland. So I think there's a very real possibility that some of these things are being flown directly from the land that the Chinese government owns right here in America, land that they're buying right next to military bases. And why does our government allow that? Do you think the Chinese government allows America to own land next to their military bases? Hell no, they do not. Yet we're like, oh, come on in. It doesn't matter. If your money's good, that's all that matters. We'll sell out the American people. We will allow the Chinese government to buy land right next to our military bases, and then we'll act stupid and crazy once they start flying drones over our military bases. And like I've been telling you all from day one, my number one theory still remains that China is behind all of this. And I say that because we've already had a half a dozen different arrests made of, Chinese citizens, foreign exchange students, whatever, over here in America and in near U.S. military bases in other countries. Chinese citizens have been arrested, or Chinese immigrants, like I said, whatever you want to call them, Chinese people have been arrested for flying their drones and capturing footage, spying on our military bases. We've had several arrests within the last few months. We had a recent one in California. So we know for a fact they're doing this. Or do these mysterious drones belong to China? We don't know that for a fact yet, but we know that China has agents operating within America that are spying on our military bases. We have already caught them, and they're buying up the land next to military bases for a reason. It doesn't take Einstein. We don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out why they're doing that. But some people are predicting, some people who look into this more than I do, they're predicting that we're going to be attacked by China. And, I said this in a past video. I'm hoping that nothing comes of this. I'm hoping this drone story goes away and nothing happens. But if something does happen, no one in America has the right to act surprised. We can't act as if we're caught off guard here because the warning signs are there. Other countries have been directly warning us with their words, and they've been warning us with their actions. And if people think that we're untouchable or nothing could happen on American soil, they're mistaken. And I think these drones are sending that message that we are not untouchable. But let's go ahead and roll this clip, and then I'll be right back with more thoughts.
I find this stunning that we are still buying drones from China, and here we are trying to guess what the drones in the sky are that we're all talking about for the last couple of weeks. My guess is, and I've been saying this, that it is communist China. Your reaction?
It certainly is communist China for many of these drones, maybe even a majority of them. The increased tempo of these drone flights against our military bases is occurring at the same time as there's increased frequency of incursions and attempted incursions of these bases by Chinese and other nationals. Really, what is occurring here is that they are preparing to attack the United States from American soil. I don't know why we need an engraved invitation from Beijing. It's clear what's going to happen. We are going to get hit, and we're not taking the necessary precautions to protect these bases and to protect the American people.
Well, there's also, a weakened situation to admit. For the longest time, General Jack Keane has been telling us on this program repeatedly for years that we are outgunned, we are outmanned when you look at our Navy versus the Chinese Navy. The Pentagon released its 2024 China Military Power Report yesterday. It found that Beijing is increasing its military pressure on Taiwan. It's ramping up its aggression in the South China Sea. It's deepening its ties with Russia, and its crackdown on military corruption may have disrupted progress toward its 2027 modernization goal. China also growing its nuclear arsenal, adding at least 100 nuclear warheads to its stockpile over the past year, with 600 plus already in the arsenal. That number could grow to over 1,000 by 2030, Gordon. And yet there's no response ever from the Biden-Harris administration to Beijing's behavior. We allowed the spy balloon to traverse the country for a week before shooting it down. Why aren't they shooting down these drones in the air if they suspect they're from China?
There's no good answer. You have base commanders, first of all, don't have the authority, and they don't have the equipment to shoot down these drones. And the Chinese are noticing this, which means they see a big vulnerability. And with those nuclear warheads, Maria, China is building up its arsenal not to deter. It already has enough warheads to deter. It's building up its arsenal so that it can coerce us and others into not doing things like defending Taiwan. They saw the way Biden reacted to Vladimir Putin's nuclear threats before the invasion of Ukraine. They saw that they worked, and the Chinese are going to do the same thing when they go after the Philippines, Japan, Taiwan, whomever.
Well, I want to look at what's happening on the ground. A Chinese man was arrested in 2023 for allegedly running a secret Chinese police station in New York City. He pled guilty yesterday to acting as an illegal foreign agent, Gordon. He's now facing 5 years in prison. He and his partner allegedly opened this police station back in 2022 to track and intimidate Chinese dissidents living in the United States. Both were caught deleting communications with an official from the Chinese Ministry of Public Security after learning that they were, in fact, under investigation. Gordon, you've been talking about this for so many years, these police stations. You first broke the news on this program years ago that Beijing had set up these police stations in America. Again, no response from Biden for years on police station. Why would we need Beijing police stations in New York City?
No, we don't. And we don't need the 7 to 9 other police stations in the United States that the New York Post and the Daily Caller have written about and reported. It's fine that they closed the New York one. I'm great that they did that, but they should be closing the other installations as well. It is just no justification for allowing the Chinese to violate our sovereignty and in many cases commit crimes against us. We're allowing consular officials and Ministry of State security agents to commit those crimes and violate our security on our own soil.
Yep, great point. Lee Carter, jump in here.
Gordon, I am so intrigued by this whole thing. I've been talking about the drones for a while. My family is from New Jersey. I've seen the drones over my home. So many people are saying it's just not possible that these drones could be from a foreign entity, that we would know. And if they were, we would be doing something about it. How is it possible that this is happening? And what do you think is going to be different come January 20th?
Yeah. Well, some of these drones may not be Chinese, and if they're not, they're federal government drones because they're too big. They are not the drones of hobbyists. So that leads the question is, what is the federal government doing in the skies over New Jersey with such a large operation? And, you know, there are any number of alternative explanations, but until we hear the truth from the Biden administration, we have to speculate.
Yeah.
As President Trump said on Monday, the federal government knows what's happening in the skies over New Jersey, but it's not telling us. And if it's not telling us, the story cannot be good. The
Right.
story
Why?
can be ominous, it can be whatever, but it's not good.
Well, look, also ominous is this report that China is rapidly expanding its nuclear forces, according to the Pentagon, Gordon. I didn't hear you comment about that. U.S. Defense Department reports Beijing has increased its operational nuclear warhead arsenal by 20% in a year, Gordon.
Yes, and they're going very, very fast at this. And as we know, this is not for deterrence, this is for coercion. So they intend to engage in acts of aggression, but beforehand threaten everyone with the nuclear weapons if they don't do what the Chinese want. So
Wow.
it's very clear what's happening. The Chinese have already made these threats, especially since 2021. And in 2013, they made the most ominous threat against the U.S. to target 13 American cities.
Yeah. Feels like a big bully in the global neighborhood, that's for sure.
It's kind of crazy to think about the fact that basically all the drones that we have here in America come from China. All the way from the drones that you might buy at your local electronics store to the drones that our military uses. A lot of them come from China. And if the whole damn thing doesn't come from China, at the very least, parts of that drone come from China. So China has their hand, you know, in the situation somewhere along the line. You know what I mean? China has their hands in the process of making these drones. So when you see the sheriff's departments and the FBI or whatever using their drones to try to track down these other drones, it's crazy because if these mysterious drones are from China, what we're doing is using our own drones from China to try to track them down. Now, don't you see how and why that could pose a problem? Don't you see how that can be an issue? Don't you think in the day and age where technology is moving rapidly, right? And drones seem to be kind of like the next stage of warfare. Fighter pilots and stuff like that, it's outdated. You're going to see wars fought with swarms of drones. And if China is one of the number one threats that we're dealing with, if China is like our number one enemy that we're worried about, should we really rely on them for drones? You know what I mean? They're way more advanced than we are when it comes to this technology, folks. So it's kind of scary that it's like that China kind of supplies us with drones and they know what type of technology we have when it comes to drones. And then they go and possibly, if they are responsible, fly their mysterious drones over knowing that our drones can't stop them, or maybe our drones can't pick them up on radar because they built them in a way to make sure that they wouldn't. It's like you don't want your enemy having that much knowledge about what you're capable of. You know what I mean? And China, listen, and when I say we, the U.S. can paint out Iran and Russia to be these big threats, and I'm not here to tell you they're not. But China is who we have to worry about more than anyone. That's the facts. China is the other world superpower that we have to worry about. And China is making moves. You know, they're ramping up their nuclear arsenal. As you just heard, they're ramping up their Navy. They're just rapidly ramping up their military, okay? They're ramping up their nuclear arsenals and stuff. So it seems as if they're kind of getting ready for something. And it's a very complicated, intricate operation that China is running. Because as they're ramping up their military spending, right? And they're strengthening their military and what have you, at the same time, they're buying a bunch of land in America. They're buying up farmland. And as I was talking about earlier, they're buying up land near military bases. And hell, they have whole entire freaking underground secret police stations operating here in America, where they try to hold, people who may have escaped the Communist Party in China, where they try to, I don't know, they try to police them in some way. It's really freaking weird. But if you're someone who's wondering, well, how in the hell could China be allowed? How in the hell would America allow China to operate these drones in our sky? Well, why in the hell is America allowing China to buy up land near our military bases? Why in the hell is America allowing China to have secret police stations? That's not legal. That's not okay. But they exist. In big cities across America, there are secret Chinese Communist Party police stations that try to police, I guess, certain Chinese people who are over here from China or people who have escaped. It's really weird stuff. I don't even know the ins and outs of all of it, but I know they exist. And our government knows they exist. So once you start understanding stuff like that, it doesn't seem as far-fetched to believe that, hey, China could be flying drones right over New Jersey. Hell yeah. They could go buy 100,000 acres of land, or you know what I mean? Like thousands or hundreds of acres of land right next to a military base. They could operate a secret police station out of New York City. Yeah, they can fly drones if they want to. And any of the other drones you see flying, they're still coming from China. Even if China's not behind, flying them, they still supply them. So, I really feel like the most obvious answer here and the most likely answer is that this is some type of, CCP operation happening in our skies. And that we have incompetent, people in our government that don't know how to handle this situation. Or maybe they're aware of the situation and they're allowing this to happen because the CCP owns a lot of our politicians, which is why they allow our land to be sold. They're traitors, they sell us out. And I think we're being sold out right now as we speak. So right now, I still have different theories. I'm still open to all possibilities. The government psyop, government using this for an excuse for something, I still think that's very possible. But in order for that to be possible, the government would have to acknowledge that this is a problem. And there seems to be hesitancy, at least from the White House and the Biden administration, to admit that any of this is real. I know we got governors and senators and mayors and the military speaking out, but there seems to be a hesitancy to admit that this is a real problem, which leads me to believe that this must be a real problem and it must not be some type of psyop agenda to use for something else. But we don't know yet. We still don't know. We may never know. But as of right now, I think there can be a solid case made that, hey, the most likely suspect is China. But you let me know what you think down below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next one.